Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. So I'm prompted to make this video because of a rather painful experience where I was scammed by two sellers in the P2P markets. And I've been in this game for a very long time, and fortunately I can say that getting scammed is very rare. There are a lot of mechanisms that are in place that prevent this kind of thing from happening. I'm going to talk about some of those mechanisms, and I'm going to talk about how you can avoid getting scammed as a buyer. If you're someone buying cryptocurrency on the P2P markets, I'm going to give you some good advice on how to avoid getting scammed. So if you like these kinds of videos, make sure to subscribe, and you can use my referral links in the description down below for said P2P cryptocurrency exchanges like Local CoinSwap, HODL, and a few others. So let's get into the video. So I want to first talk about how are people actually able to protect themselves in this kind of scenario. So usually when you go to an exchange, we'll say Binance, which is the most traditional kind of exchange, the type of exchange you'd call this is AMM, Automated Market Maker. You don't have to remember the name, but it's a type of exchange where you buy through something called the spot market. Now, everyone that comes to the exchange does not buy and sell directly to each other. They buy and sell on an order book that you see to the left. So everyone places these orders and they're automatically matched up with other people's orders. But for all intents and purposes, it's the exchange that's actually providing this service, right? So before you even go to the spot exchange, you'll actually have to deposit funds from your bank to the exchange itself. And then let's just say you've got US dollars, you send funds from your bank account to the centralized exchange, and then you'll have US dollars represented on this exchange, right? And then you use those US dollars to trade on the spot exchange, right? So for all intents and purposes, just remember, it's the exchange that's doing this for you. It's a third-party mechanism, right, that is facilitating the trade between people. But on the other type of exchange, a P2P cryptocurrency exchange, what you've got is a different mechanism that's taking place. People deal directly with each other. So the way that I like to describe how a P2P cryptocurrency exchange works in comparison to the AMM model is that imagine it's kind of like eBay. On eBay, you can list anything you want, right? So people here, they're all selling Bitcoin, but they're able to name their own price. So this guy, he's chosen to sell it above 10% market rate. He's chosen to sell it in Australia. He's chosen to sell, what kind of payment method he's accepting, and he can do whatever he wants in the terms and conditions of this trade. And the only thing that matters is there someone that's willing to trade with him under these conditions, right? Which is not the case with Binance. It's very homogenized. You just buy it spot via bank transfer. You never interact with the seller. But here, when you open up a trade, let's just say with this person here, you go to buy Bitcoin, there's a trade chat that's set up between you and the buyer, and then that's able to facilitate the trade. So what actually protects the buyer in this case, right? Because you're thinking, right, so this guy here, he's going to send you payment information, and then you're going to send it to him. What's just stopping him from running away with all your cash? And that's something called escrow. So escrow is a feature where a third party, in this case the exchange, is managing the funds that the seller wants to sell. So when the trade initiates, when the buyer opens up a trade with the seller will then have his funds in this third party escrow wallet. And you can imagine it sitting between three parties. You've got the buyer, the seller, and the exchange, who's acting as a referee for this wallet. Now, the exchange doesn't do anything with this wallet. What needs to happen is essentially all three parties have to agree on a particular direction of the trade, right? So imagine this: the seller sends the payment information to the buyer. The buyer then sends the funds to the seller. When the seller confirms that the funds have arrived, it then clicks a button to confirm that the buyer clicks a button that says he has paid, and then the seller then clicks a button saying he received the funds, and then those funds go to the buyer, right? And the only time the third party, in this case the exchange, who's kind of the referee of this wallet, the only time that they step in is when there is a disagreement between the buyer and the seller. Otherwise, it's purely peer-to-peer, just the buyer and the seller interact with each other, and that's okay, and everything's fine. So the buyer doesn't have to worry that when he sends funds to the seller, that seller isn't just going to run away, because those funds are locked in escrow. As long as the funds are locked in escrow, he doesn't have to worry about the seller just running off with his funds. So what happens? How could scams possibly emerge out of this, out of these kinds of scenarios? Well, in my experience, the way that scams could happen is because there is a time limit in which the buyer has to make payment within a certain time limit to the seller. Otherwise, the escrow would cancel and the funds would go back to the seller. And most of the scams I've seen is that the buyer simply won't make payment within that time period, and then the seller, he's got the funds, he's got his funds back from the escrow, he's got his Bitcoin, he's got the fiat funds that the buyer was sending him, and now he just runs off with it, and no one can do anything about it. So this is not usually a problem. I'll give you an example on a place like Hodl Hodl. On Hodl Hodl, the payment window is usually 90 minutes, but as you can see here, this guy's got it at 30 minutes. When there's a good period of time for you to send the funds, there's almost no problem. This guy's got 60 minutes. 30 to 60 minutes is plenty of time to send the funds. Now, on that note, when I've been selling, you'd be shocked how many people that I've dealt with where I'll be selling and the time limit is like 15 minutes. Someone will open up a trade, the funds are in escrow, I've sent them the funds, and then they go pet their cat, they wash their dog, they go out for a nice morning, they go out for a walk, and when there's only 30 seconds left, they quickly send pay, and then the payment time's done. Now, because I'm not a scammer, no problem, I allow them to open up the trade again, I send them funds, it's no problem. But the problem is, a lot of people aren't like that. I mean, the peer-to-peer market unfortunately attracts a lot of sketchy people, because there are people that understand how this mechanism works, and it's a way in which they can scam people that aren't paying close attention, which is very unfortunate. So let's make it clear, when you open a trade with someone and the funds go into escrow, you need to pay immediately. Do not go out for a walk, don't do shopping, don't call your mum, send funds immediately. And the moment you send funds, you have to click mark as paid. And it's going to look a little different on every single peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchange, but when the funds are in escrow, there'll be a big button saying mark as paid. Now, local CoinSwap doesn't have a payment timer. I don't suggest wasting the time of your seller, so you don't have to worry about it there. Hodl Hodl is very generous with the time. You've got at least 30 minutes to send funds. But the problem is actually with these larger centralized exchanges. This is where I've actually had problems. On OKX, for instance, it can be as little as 15 minutes. Now, I want to bring your attention to certain payment methods. We'll say a bank transfer, right? Now, let's just say you want to do a bank transfer, like SEPA regular, and you're doing it for, say, $5,000. Often these sellers will want you to split payments, so they'll give you 2 addresses, and you've got to send payment to 2 different addresses. And then also, in order to confirm payment, and when you click the mark as paid button, you have to send a screenshot that you actually, as evidence. So to do all these things, to send 2 payments, to send a screenshot, you could do that within all 15 minutes, but you've got to be diligent. And, you never know, maybe at the start, you open the trade and unfortunately, maybe the seller just isn't there, and you have to maybe wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then when he sends you the details, you might have 5 minutes and you've got to go, because once that 5 minutes clocks down, the trade will automatically cancel. And imagine if you're in the middle of making payment, then you send it, you come back, you go switch to the tab of your peer-to-peer trading trade, and you say it's cancelled, that person can technically run off with your funds. So there's a few things with this. You've got to make sure that you send funds within the payment time limit, right? If you feel as if there isn't enough time, what you can do is you can cancel the trade and open it up again, or you can ask the seller to give you more time. On OKX, there's an option for extending the time, but if there's only like 2-3 minutes left, it's probably a good idea that you don't send if you know it's going to take you 5-10 minutes. So it's extremely important to send within the time limit. Otherwise, there's a chance that the person you're dealing with is going to run off with your funds. Now, I'm going to give another piece of advice, and this is very important as well, and that is you've got to trade with people with the most amount of feedback as possible. So if I zoom in here, I can see this first person that's popping up only has 9 transactions. Now, this is not a very good amount of transactions. Now, the reason why is that you need to assume a worst case scenario position. The worst case scenario is that somehow mistakes are made and you're going to have to rely on the trustworthiness of the individual to come through with the agreement that you originally had, right? So the escrow mechanism will make it so that you could deal business with a scammy person that, if left to his own devices, will scam you. But when the escrow is in place and you've marked as paid, nothing bad should happen to you, even if you're dealing with the dodgiest person in the world. But the problem is, worst case scenarios could happen. Imagine, you've sent payment after 5 minutes, you've got 10 minutes on the clock, you go to click mark as paid, and your computer freezes, your internet shuts out, right? And by the time you get back on, the time is gone out. So you need to ensure that even if these funds weren't in escrow, you're dealing with someone with a high amount of reputation, right? And you might think, let's just say I've sent that person $1,000. You'll think, what is the leverage for keeping this person dealing honestly with me, considering he can just run off with my funds? Why would he just log back onto the exchange, talk to me in a reasonable manner, and have me, because that's a lot of money for, you don't know who you're dealing with, right? So the best thing to do is to trade with people with high amounts of feedback, because if I look at the second person down the list, we'll see Coin Titan. This person has 25,000 transactions, and I promise you, as a trader, that is very hard to get to. When you've got that many transactions, everyone wants to deal with you because you're so trustworthy. This is the kind of person that does this for a living. If he lost a dispute because he scammed somebody, he wrecked his reputation on the exchange, and the exchange bans him, that's his livelihood gone. Why would he decide to lose $1,000 when in that year, who knows, maybe he made $100,000? Maybe that is sending his kids to university. That's how he gets his bread and butter, and he's been doing this. This guy would have clearly been doing this for like 5-10 years. So the chances of him taking like that $1,000 in exchange for all of his reputation, his business, is pretty low. So the higher the feedback, the less likely it is that that person is going to betray you in the end. Now, the last thing I just want to discuss is I'm just going to give a quick ranking of the places in which you're least likely to get scammed by a seller. To me, the absolute most trustworthy place with the most trustworthy buyers are on Bybit. Trustworthy sellers, are on Bybit. Why is that? Because Bybit at this stage is the largest P2P cryptocurrency trading exchange. It kind of shares that with Binance, but the reason why I like this one so much is because every single seller on here, that is, I'm logged out because I don't want to dox myself, but everyone on here has to provide a deposit. I don't know exactly how much the deposit is, but it's got to be at least 2,500 USDT. So if you're gonna get scammed, if you've sent like $1,000 and the person that you're dealing with is gonna scam you, he's just gonna lose 2,500 USDT, right? Now, maybe this doesn't scale well with higher amounts of money, but regardless, it's a good amount of leverage to prevent sellers from dealing dirty with you. On top of that, they also have to go through some pretty rough, intense financials. Like, these guys are fully doxed. They have to go through a bunch of AML stuff, so they have to show exactly where the USDT came from. They've got to go through all these hoops, and this is good for you, because ultimately, if you're worried about getting scammed, then yeah. Okay, similar thing is with Binance. I don't know if they have to give a deposit, but one thing I do know is that sellers, when they do receive funds from the buyer, when they complete a trade, it takes them 24 hours to be able to withdraw the USDT from their account. Oh no, sorry. I think it's the other way around. I can't remember exactly, but they've got some mechanism. I'm thinking of buyers, actually. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, they've got some mechanism in place to stop buyers just running off. Anyway, thirdly, when it comes to the non-KYC P2P cryptocurrency exchanges, the specifically P2P cryptocurrency exchanges like local CoinSwap, I recommend local CoinSwap. The reason why is because there's no payment limit. Now, this can be annoying if you're a seller because you can have some person open a trade, you escrow, and they can just disappear. It can be annoying, but for buyers, it's really good because they don't have to worry that, you know, if they don't make payment within like the next 5-10 minutes, or if their computer crashes, they didn't have the opportunity to click the I paid button, that they're not going to get scammed. That's good. And then on HODL, you've got a minimum 30 minutes to send payment before escrow, before the seller has the opportunity to click the cancel button. But oftentimes they'll be like up to 90 minutes. 90 minutes, oh, this guy's got 45 minutes. I mean, 30 to 90 minutes is the amount of time that you've got. To me, OKX is the most frustrating one because usually people will set it at like 15 minutes. And I don't know why. I've just had a lot of bad luck with sellers on here. And again, you've got to go with the people with the highest amount of feedback. But I've been scammed with people with 100 feedback, and it has not been a pretty picture. So guys, if you like this video and if you like this no-nonsense advice about how to deal in the world of P2P trading, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I give advice to buyers, I give advice to sellers, I teach you how to make money in this world, I teach you how to buy without KYC. And if you're interested in doing those things, you can use my referral link in the description down below for local CoinSwap and HODL. And if you want to do the same thing but with Monero, you can use my referral link as well for BitPapa, and there's another one called Noons. You can use these to buy Monero without KYC. I know it's getting much harder to buy Monero in this day and age, so make sure to check that out, and I'll see you next time.